So we're right here at the Netbook World Summit in Paris, and you were doing a keynote panel discussion, and you're talking about Linux. You're experts in Linux, and you work in Mandriva. Can I film your badge? Is that okay?
Yes, yeah? Absolutely. So yeah. I'm Arnaud Laprévote, and I'm the CTO of Mandriva.
All right.
So we have obviously Mandriva as a real activity in Netbooks and in OEM. So what is very important with Netbooks is that Netbooks in just 2 years, as was told by our friends of IDC, really changed the landscape of the computing, the hardware market. So in just 2 years, now about 25% of all netbooks that are sold are in fact netbooks. So it's a very fast shift in the market and very important one.
And that's very relevant for Mandriva.
Obviously. So Mandriva has an expertise in helping OEM to integrate Linux in their netbooks. For example, we have a netbook with Guillemot, which is a French constructor. And okay, so we are able to provide both the software, all the services that are necessary to do the integration, and also the maintenance of the operating system once it is set up. So why is Linux important? First, why netbooks are so successful? They are bringing at least two things. They are cheap device, so the price is an important thing, but they are also ultra-portable devices. So it's the first time you have cheap, ultra-portable devices that are available. Yeah. When you say cheap, there's something important with cheap. It is when you buy a computer, the hardware is in the price, but the software is also in the price. So obviously, if you are able to lower the price of the software, you are able to lower the price of the platform. So that's an important thing.
And if I may ask you, can I also film your badge?
Absolutely.
Your badge? So you're from the KDE Foundation, and you were talking about there are some people that kind of make fun of Linux, saying that the market share is going down. But you were saying that it depends how you look at it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Most of the numbers we see, they go, oh, it only has 1 to 2% of the market. Those numbers are primarily looking at mainstream Western, so Western Europe, Middle Europe, and North America usage. Whereas if we look elsewhere, South America, Asia, and certain areas of Europe like Germany, we're actually doing exceptionally well. I mentioned in the panel discussion the deployment in Brazil, where the entire public school system now is using KDE and Linux on all the machines there. It's 52 million students, and that's one installation. Obviously our largest in the world at the moment, but it's not completely aberrant either. We have a number of 100,000 plus individual or user deployments out there. And in netbooks, we're doing exceptionally well. Worldwide, it's 30 to 35%, depending on where in the world you're looking and what market segment. So netbooks have really been a game changer for Linux as well as KDE itself, because it's given us, a brand new market that's just exploded, and we're a very large player right from the start. In fact, the first netbooks that came out, right, originally ran Linux and KDE, so we've been there right from the start, which is a very neat position to be in for us, and one that we, are planning to continue taking advantage of.
Is it fair to say that with the old PC, before that there was basically close to 0% in the consumer laptop kind of market, and consumer, and now suddenly there's a bunch of percents coming in, so it's kind of like it's still a big change in terms of numbers of laptops shipped.
Exactly. Traditionally, where you would see client-side Linux was in desktops in government, corporations, and education. And with
and
netbooks,
geeks installing
and
themselves.
geeks, but that's a very small percentage of people, right? Whereas the corporate usage, and educational usage, and government usage is measurable. But you're right. With the netbook explosion, we've now been able to enter the mobile, the laptop market, and of course, Linux is also doing very well on the smartphone and those ultra mobile devices as well.
Do you think that IDC was just saying 20% and they think it's maybe staying at 20% or something like that? Do you think it's going to maybe take over much more than 20%? It's going to maybe take over the whole market?
Netbooks?
Yeah?
No.
No, not really?
No, because you have different needs.
Yeah.
For at least for when you need a productivity, you need a big screen, you need big processors. So obviously it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
But gamers, for example, they will never accept a netbook. They want to have much more power than that. And that's the same for people doing scientific calculation. They need a processor processing very quickly, having a lot of RAMs, and so there are different needs. Netbook is really what is explained here is that in fact netbook is not replacing something in the market. It's really another market which is emerging above the existing market. It is a market of secondary machine, not first use machine. So it's another market, it's just an addition.
So you're not really envisioning 100% market share for Linux netbooks next year? No? Not yet? Not really?
Not yet. I do think there are some very unique opportunities, though, for Linux in this space. One of them is the ARM emergence, possible emergence anyways, of ARM-based devices. So here is one that you actually brought with you. It's a very low cost, under 100 for the device, and it's ARM-based. So, we know ARM traditionally from phones and these kind of ultra-mobile devices, which means high volume, which means lower prices, but also great power consumption and these kinds of things. In KDE, traditionally we wrote software targeted at the laptop and desktop market. And in the last year or two, we've, in tandem with this shift to Netbook, we've put a lot of attention on this new form factor. So we've got a new Netbook UI. The 1.0 release is coming out in January. We released a technology preview in combination working with the Kubuntu developers, but also runs on Mandriva, OpenSUSE, and others. We just released that last month. And we also are working with ARM, because we run the framework that runs our desktop and now our Netbook interface also runs on high-end smartphones like the Nokia N900, which is an ARM-based device. Oh, yeah. And we've been playing with ARM-based netbooks that will be coming out in the market soon, and actually taking our software and running it there as well. And we think that's one of the really neat advantages that we have with free software, open source software on these platforms, is you can, as a manufacturer, you can choose what architecture do you want, right? You don't have to go, oh, I would like to use that software, so now I have to use this architecture. You still have choice of architecture. And because it's open, you also have freedom in branding. You can say, I like it to look a little bit like this, like it to work a little bit differently. Your hands aren't tied. And in a market that is as busy as this one, as disruptive as this one, there's room for a lot of innovation, but you also want to be able to differentiate your brand. And free software allows you to do that very effectively, and as you said, at an exceptionally low cost. That's an odd combination to have, right? Where you can innovate and actually do it in short periods of time and affordably.
So ARM is a big opportunity for Linux.
Absolutely huge.
Yeah, sure,
and you are working on that as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah?
Just one thing I would like to add. In fact, when you look at open source, what open source brings to people is always control. You control what you can do. It is right for consumers, it is right for organization, it is also right for telcos, telecom operators. They will have the possibility to have a full control, really, I mean, till the last bit of the last sector of the last hard disk. And it's very important, I think, because most of the time, if you consider revenues is also about what you let the user and what you don't let the user do. And you need full control for that. And you don't want somebody else to take the value of you.
Absolutely. And there's so much value being shipped now with these operating systems. We've actually been working with Mandriva for a few months now, tracking the ARM port in particular. But with KDE, we're also shipping App Store infrastructure. So in January, when the 4.4 release comes out, manufacturers that are wanting to provide a device and want to have an app store along with it, they can either tie into our own app store, or they can use that same infrastructure that we ship with it and tie it into their own company-branded app store on their own infrastructure. And so again, you have this ability of control. At the same time, you don't have to invest and build everything from the ground up unless you really, really want to, which is the role that companies like Mandriva and communities such as KDE fill. Is we give you that basic level of engineering, and then you can take it and shape it and mold it, or go, I like it just the way it is. I'm going to use exactly that. And because of that, I think that in these price-sensitive areas where innovation is key, open source is the future.
When you have these both factors, innovation, high innovation environment, and very high price sensitivity, I don't see what can beat open source. No.
And if you were IDC, how many % of the market do you think ARM Linux laptops will have next year?
Well,
if you could guess.
On ARM,
how many million devices?
Oh, I won't even gauge it. I won't even gauge it. I won't even try to guess.
We are not IDC. We are not IDC.
I will say that when the ARM devices come out, they're going to be pretty much exclusively free software Linux based, simply because we're the only ones ready for it.
So 100%. That's it.
Right. That's right. Pretty close to 100% on the ARM devices for Linux. You'll see some Android out there. You'll see some things like Mandriva. You'll see some KDE, etc. But it's going to be almost exclusively open source. Even Symbian is open source now, which from smartphones and runs on ARM. So it's going to be exclusively an open source world. How much ARM are we going to see in netbooks? That's going to really depend on how people play it in the market.
In fact, we are not going to decide. You are going to decide.
That's right.
and do you think it's a good idea to have like a triple boot, or quadruple boot, or dual boot, like to have different kinds of Linuxes and just like let people choose if they want to have this and that? What do you think?
For the enthusiast, sure.
Only enthusiasts.
But for the average end user, they basically want to get something done. And I think most people are going to have 1, 2, maybe 3 devices, right? A smartphone, a netbook, and then a full-on, this is my work machine laptop where I do my main hardcore work, my gaming, or whatever is important to you. And each one of those devices is going to have one operating system on it, typically, and one configuration. I like the idea of Netbook and these kind of specific devices because it allows people to go very vertical in the configuration, specific to the task that they're going for. I love the fact there's choice in the market, but I think that people will choose a device, it's going to come with an operating system on it, and they're probably going to stay that way. And I think that the user, if we're successful, won't even know or care what the specific operating system is. They'll just go, damn, I love how this works. That's our goal.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
Thanks.